And then it is a pleasure to be joined by a headliner, a main eventer of WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, very good. So talk to me, WrestleMania, back in the main event. Aside from the result, how was that experience?
It was really bizarre. Just really, really bizarre. It's funny. It's taken me, it's been 9 days now since it happened, and it's taken me time to fully process what the experience was like because it wasn't like a normal thing. It was really weird. I felt very uh like out of body in it, right? It was so weird. Like when I'm wrestling, I feel everything and I feel like I really enjoy it. Like I'm out there and I'm like, gosh, like having fun. And this was weird. It was out there. It was almost like I felt detached. And it was like I was out there and it was so strange, in fact, that before the match started and I got this really weird feeling. I was like, oh no, is this what it's like right before you die? Am I going to die? And I was like, huh, well, I mean, okay, and I was like, if that happens, that happens. But it was just a really bizarre feeling, and I don't know why or how that happened, but it was unlike pretty much anything I've ever felt while wrestling before.
Yeah, what do you think it was? Do you think it was, WrestleMania event, main event, the biggest occasion imaginable, fans being back, and I guess sort of the culmination of your whole comeback story? Is it just overwhelming that all those three kind of factors came in at once?
Well, so it's weird because you would think it would be a sense of overwhelm, but I was so calm.
Hmm.
It was bizarre, and I'm pretty calm when I wrestle anyways. Like I especially since I've come back from retirement, it's felt uh like I don't worry about things being good. Which is a weird thing to say. It's like, I want them to be good, clearly, but I don't worry about it. I just like, okay, like, hey, this could be taken away from me at any time. So I really just try to go out and enjoy what I do. And but so I was like remarkably just calm the whole day, calm right before I go out there. When I was out there, I was absurdly calm, and I was just like, oh, I literally, I have been trying to process and describe it to my wife for the last week. And have just absolutely failed every single time. So
Well, I mean, talking of calm, everyone always has their big WrestleMania entrance planned out. You came out just in a hoodie.
yeah. Well, so it's an interesting dichotomy between the differences between the three of us, right? Uh, so if I could get away with just coming out and looking jacked like Roman, I would do that. But because I'm not jacked, I feel like I have to wear something. And I like, well, every week I wear the t-shirt, so maybe this week I'll wear the hoodie. And so Edge has his big jacket and all that kind of stuff. But it was really weird because as I came out, like I just really wanted to savor the experience because it might be my last WrestleMania, and so it's just really really try to enjoy it.
Were you really conscious of the fans being there? Because I know a lot of people have tried to, when I ask them about the fans not being there over the last year, they try and say like, look, you just concentrate on what's happening on the ring, but obviously they're there, right? And of course it's different, and the whole thing is catered towards them. Were you really conscious of them being there?
So I what so to say, I mean, consciousness is a weird term. Like, am I aware of them being there? Yes.
Yeah.
Do they provide a new sort of energy? Yes. But it's interesting also because I don't feel a lack of energy when I wrestle in front of no fans. But I'm also one of the people, like one of the very few people who loved wrestling at the performance center in front of no people. I mean, for me, there it was so weird. It was just like it gave me like this weird energy, like wrestling in front of no people. It's like, wow, like this is really just strange and bizarre, and I love unique circumstances. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it definitely, wrestling in front of people was, definitely, you're aware of it. And one of the things that I really like about wrestling in front of people versus, say, the performance center in front of nobody, or the Thunderdome, which is kind of like your people on screens, but they're piped in audio, is the instantaneous feedback of whether or not people like something, right? And also, I was I was just very curious, like I was very curious the whole time to see if like who was going to get booed, who was going to get cheered, like all that kind of stuff, and not just for our match, for every match, right? But specifically for our match, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I thought for sure Roman was just going to get massive cheers because he's been like the coolest TV character that we've had in a long time. And so when he came out and got booed, I was like, oh, that's a bit of a surprise.
I was going to ask you about that because it's not only like the first reaction, but it's sort of changed throughout the match. Like sometimes you're obviously, you've always been a particularly popular crowd, a fan favorite, particularly since the comeback, other than when you were the planet's champion, when for some reason people booed you for like trying to save the world.
Right.
But,
yeah.
but, like at first it was like loads of yes chants, then there was like some no chants, then there was yes chants again, and Edge was like loads of cheers at first, then a couple of boos, then cheers, and then Roman was loads of boos, then people kind of enjoy it again, then boos at the end. So it was a real mystery throughout the match. How did you find that?
So I just find it interesting, right? Like I also, I don't know, part of me, while I'm in there, I really try to be in the moment, right? And in the moment, I was really trying to cater to the booze. Like and so I mean like because being the yesing Daniel Bryan and getting cheered and everything, that's fun, right? But I don't know. There's just something about being a bad guy. But everybody likes being a bad guy because being a bad guy is the funnest, like.
How did you find it? Because obviously, WrestleMania main event, we've seen so many of them. And I think over the last few years, people often put so much pressure on a main event that they almost don't deliver. Whereas this year, everyone was buzzing about it and it delivered. Like, did you feel a lot of pressure to make it deliver? And did you try and think of new things that hadn't been done before, like the spot with the both doing the submission with the chair in the mouth and the headbutts and everything? Were you actively trying to think of like completely out of the box things that people hadn't seen before to kind of deal with the pressure?
No. I don't even approach wrestling that way. So I think one of the things that really helped us is the 2 nights. And, so WrestleMania 35. So last year, if you kind of take away last year, because that was in front of nobody, so it doesn't count. WrestleMania 35 was really hard for that main event. I mean, they didn't go into the ring till after midnight. I mean, I was so thankful. My match with Kofi, which is one of my favorite matches I've ever had, right? My match with Kofi is just like 2 hours into the show, which is like the perfect time for a match to start, right? But after like 4 or 5 hours, people have seen so much, right? And then it's starting to get cold, or you're getting uncomfortable, or you're getting hungry, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I thought the 2 day thing was very successful. And one of the things that I really liked about it is it kept the show times a little bit shorter and allowed people, despite like, and there were, you have to imagine in Tampa, there were thunderstorms, all this kind of crazy stuff. And it kept the people interested, right? Over both nights. And so I think that really helped us as far as like crafting it to be like, okay, this has to be like this super special main event of WrestleMania. I prepare. There's certain things that I do mentally to prepare and to come up with ideas. And but I do those for every big match. Obviously, you can't do them every week because I don't know who I'm wrestling every week. But I mean, when I know that I've got a big match coming up, I always try to kind of prepare as far as ideas. But I didn't do it any more so than normal. But I also think one of the cool things about this specific main event is that you had three three guys who have a lot of different ideas. You also have Jey Uso, who has a ton of ideas. You have Paul Heyman, who has a ton of ideas. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say our producer is Michael Hayes, and he's a great producer. So it's like, so yeah, so it all just kind of fell together. And then not going on 4.5 hours into a show really helps us too.
That underwhelmed thing you were talking about, or trying to explain how weird everything had felt. Have you sort of watched the match back to try and figure out why you felt like that? Or have you just tried to sort of remove yourself from it and move on to the next thing?
So I haven't watched it back yet, to be honest. I don't know if watching it back would really help figure out why I was so detached, right? It was also, you know, I'm not a big believer in like signs. I'm not like a most people think of me as like this hippie dippy kind of thing because I'm an environmentalist, but I'm really not. I really love science and like that sort of, like reality based things, right? And so it was interesting, but it was like maybe it's a sign that like this is the time to let go of being a full-time wrestler. You know what I mean? Which is kind of what I've been thinking for a while. Is
Mm.
like when I first started training, Shawn Michaels said, the second that you don't get nervous right before you go out, that's when you need to retire, right? And I don't necessarily believe that because for a long time I haven't gotten nervous before I go out. I'm excited because it's fun, but the odd detachment was like, whoa, maybe it's like I said, either I'm gonna die or it's time, like, oh, maybe this is just a sign that this isn't the same type of fulfilling that it was before. So it's interesting. I don't know. I've been trying to like, I just said I'm not hippy dippy, right? And then I'm like, I've been trying to meditate on it. Like all that kind of stuff, but and talk to my friends that I'm close with to be like, hey, what is that?
Because obviously in the last sort of 6 months, you've been putting it out there into the world that you're kind of considering the part-time wrestler, full-time dad thing. And do you think, I was wondering whether this being in the main event of WrestleMania brought you closer to that idea or further away. But by the sounds of what you're saying there, it's brought you very much closer to the idea of being, full-time dad, maybe part-time wrestler.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's just, life's a mystery. I mean, that's one of the things that's really cool about it is that you have these weird experiences, both in everyday life and in like, okay, main event WrestleMania life, right? So you have these weird experiences, and you don't know why they happen. You don't know why things happen in your brain, or why you experience a certain thing in one way, and somebody might experience it something else, in a different way. Like, I mean, that's all fascinating part of being human.
Obviously, it wasn't just you that had a significant WrestleMania moment in the family, the Bellas in the Hall of Fame. How was that for you, that experience?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was really cool. One, I was very thankful that Bree and I got to spend that time together, like just the two of us, right? Although we didn't get that much time. WrestleMania week is super busy, but but we, that was actually our 7-year wedding anniversary was on the Sunday show. And so that was cool. And I'm so proud of her and Nicole. I mean, super proud of Bree. Also proud of Nicole, but but I they've both went through a lot, within WWE, even like from the start, like, you know, they'd been kicked out of the locker room by the veterans when they came in and that sort of thing, and people didn't treat them very kindly and that sort of thing. And then for them to be kind of leaders in the sense of one of their big things is like, hey, if instead of like infighting and all that kind of stuff and politics, if we all work together, we can create something pretty special. And then you have also uh, talent, super talented people coming in, as their these ideas are starting to form, and like, hey, as women, we aren't getting a lot of chances. We're not getting a lot of opportunities. Let's then WWE is willing to start giving them more opportunities, and these other women are coming up too. And I think it was a great time period. It was a great period for women to just get pushed into a better spot within WWE.
And then, I mean, you see that with the main event of the first night, obviously being the women's match, Sasha and Bianca. Do you think things like that happen if Nicole and Brie aren't around in that time?
It's hard to say. Like that would be just guessing or whatever. I do think it would be a much more difficult task for it to happen without Total Divas and the reality shows and all that kind of stuff, bringing a large women audience to the show and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think, I don't know, but you never know. Like, I don't know. It's if you pluck something out of this, what happens in the timeline of reality? Who knows? Like that's.
I'm only asking existential questions from now on.
Yeah.
Everything has to be really high concept, existential.
If Daniel Bryan never existed, would somebody else have replaced you in Team Hell No? Whoa, I don't know.
Talking about that Sasha and Bianca match, and you mentioned as well the 2 nights of WrestleMania. One of the things I thought going into it was like, will they both feel like main events? Mm-hmm. And they really did both feel like a main event, didn't they? And I don't know if that's credit to Sasha and Bianca or just the show or a bit of both, but did you get the impression that it really felt like a huge match and a huge main event in its own right, even though it was the first night?
Yeah, I mean, I thought so. Like, I thought both shows felt big and felt like WrestleMania, you know what I mean? And part of that is the presentation, part of it is the look, right? You know what I mean? Part of it is the performances themselves. If Sasha and Bianca go out there and do horribly, right? Everybody's gonna be like, what was that? But they went out there and they delivered, right? And so it's like I'd be interested. You asked me about the pressure of main eventing WrestleMania, which I didn't even feel any of that pressure. I'd be interested to know, like, with Bianca, because she hasn't done a lot of main roster stuff in front of people. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden she does, and it's in the main event of WrestleMania in front of 25,000 people. I mean, that's a lot of that's a lot of pressure for somebody who's relatively inexperienced.
Yeah, especially after a show's been delayed. It's the first time fans are back, and the show's been delayed from a thunderstorm. Everyone's soaking.
Yeah, and I also think, like, there was some, I don't want to say it's a weird ordinance, but it's like a thing where if you go past 11 o'clock, the WWE gets charged, I don't know what it is, $20,000 for every 10 minutes or something like that. So it's just like, time.
How did you find the experience of watching the first night? Because I guess it's fairly unique for you to be able to just sort of enjoy half of WrestleMania without having to think about your own part.
Yeah, I loved it, and there were some matches that I was really excited about, like I was really, really excited for Cesaro and Rollins, and I like, and it was interesting because I was super proud of Cesaro, right, and how well he did, and Rollins too, right? Rollins is great, but Rollins has gotten a lot of WrestleMania opportunities, and Cesaro, for whatever reason, hasn't. And so I was super happy for him. And that was like one of my favorite things over the weekend, is that. So yeah, I really, but I'm somebody who just loves wrestling, so it's like being able to see it in front of a live crowd, and to see how the crowds, I was just interested in everything. Like, ooh, how's the crowd going to react to Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre? How are they going to react to all these different things? And it was a lot of fun to watch for me.
Cesaro has been the answer to every single WWE superstar's most underrated superstar for about 10 years now. We spoke to him actually the day before his match with Rollins, and he credited his kind of momentum going into WrestleMania, like the thing that lit the touch paper that got him there, is the match he had with you on SmackDown. Did you feel like that was going to be a moment for him?
So I don't know. I think Cesaro could have had a moment anytime we decided to give him a moment. That's my belief. My belief is that, like, hey, he's so good and so outstanding. You give him a chance to shine, and he's going to shine. And if you give him a win over somebody who is who has a little bit of credibility and that sort of thing, it's going to feel like a big moment for him. And whether that's me or whether that's somebody else, I think he was going to have that moment regardless. If if we really get behind him. I just think the world of him, both as a performer and as a human being. So it's like, asking me about Cesaro, it's like you're not going to get an unbiased answer. You're just going to get me gushing about how great he is.
But it says that everyone's the same though. Everyone gushes about how great he is.
Yeah. And so maybe it's not just gushing. Maybe he's just great,
Maybe we were right. Maybe we were right all along. He is just great. So he's now obviously on SmackDown last week, had a little bit of a face-off with Roman. That SmackDown roster that you're on at the moment is capable of just brilliant matches every single week in a million different combinations. How exciting is it for you, someone who just loves the art of it, loves the performance, loves everything about wrestling? How exciting is it for you to be part of this roster that is seeming to put on these great matches with great, dance partners week in, week out?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's really cool about SmackDown, is that everybody can really go, right? So like, and there's not anybody on there that like when I first got to WWE, there were some people where you just be like, oh gosh, I hope I'm not on with that guy. Oh. And now on SmackDown, that just doesn't exist. Like every single guy, I'm just like, oh man, that would be great, or this would be great. And like you get excited for other people to wrestle, like so let me just throw out a random match: Apollo Crews versus Kevin Owens. I'm in. Give it to me, right? Like I want to see it, right? And so and especially when you have stakes for the Intercontinental Championship, you know what I mean? Like I'm excited for it. Like you go up and like say on the good guy side, like, so I'm super excited to see Cesaro and Romans if we do it. I'm super excited to see Big E and Roman if we do it. Like take me out of the picture. I want to see Edge and Roman one-on-one. I thought that would have been a great WrestleMania main event, just the two of them. And so I mean, I think there's a lot of exciting things on SmackDown, a lot of things to be excited about, so it's really fun.
You mentioned the Edge and Roman match there. When did you sort of realize that you were going to be a part of that WrestleMania picture? When did you start to think, oh, this story definitely involves me?
I don't know. I kept trying to get out of it too. I was just like, I think this is a heck of a story. 10 years to the day that he was forced to retire. It was shortly after Elimination Chamber, and in the build up to the singles match I had with Roman at Fastlane. I was like, this is going to be with stick Daniel Bryan in here thing. So yeah. And I mean, not to say that like I didn't want to be a part of it, but I just thought it was such a strong main event, just the two of them. So
it was stronger with three.
Everybody has their thing. I was the weird thing is WrestleMania 30 didn't felt like it was going to be Batista and Randy, right? And it felt like with the way that the crowd was reacting to Batista and Randy, it kind of needed me in there, right? This one didn't feel like it needed me. And so yeah, but it's all one water under the bridge now. And maybe that's part of the thing, is this constant thing in the back of my mind being like, hey, I'm not sure I should be in this match, is one of the reasons why I had that weird reaction to actually being out there on WrestleMania. So
imagine if I agreed with you. Imagine I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I would love it. Like, see, he's with me, and I feel like there are a lot of people who actually were, but just couldn't say it. Like you can't say it, right? Like if you were to just say it, people would be like, oh, what a jerk that guy is, right? But I think there were people backstage, and I would say it to them, and they'd be like, well, I disagree, and I don't know if they were just being polite or if they were just like, hey, this is what we're doing regardless of whether we agree with it or not. And so we're just
I get it, but I disagree, because I think it did become such a crucial part of the story, especially with with the Fastlane match, and it's like the three of you having all come from a point where it was like, oh, we're never going to see them again. Like Roman with his illness, Edge with his neck, and you retiring as well. You know, it was miraculous that it happened.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah,
understood the argument both ways, but
yeah,
really I thought like that was what made it, you know, a mega event.
yeah. And I thought from a storytelling perspective, like given that that's what we were going to do, it was really fun. It was really fun doing it, and I love those two guys. I think they're both fantastic. So you know, it was really fun doing it. I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, like, but I'm also somebody who I don't know. I'm weird about that kind of stuff.
So what do you reckon is next for you? Are you taking a bit of time after WrestleMania, or are you straight back into it?
So my contract's actually up relatively soon. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life. So you know, I'm gonna be 40 soon, and like you know, with two kids, I've been on lone dad duty. Like Bree had a girl's couple days, right? I don't want to say a girl's. It wasn't even a weekend, so it was like because it's not
It
weekend
was an
time.
amount of time.
It's Tuesday. Yeah, yeah. It's a couple days with the girls, right? So I'm on lone dad duty, right? I was like, oh my gosh, Brie does this every week. with one kid, you know, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but like you know, it's like okay, you get your routine or whatever. You throw in two kids, and you know, one of them being like a baby, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm juggling all these things and like you know all that kind of stuff, and so there's that, and you know, I love spending time with my kids. And sometimes I feel like being on the road every week, like you leave, you come back, when you come back, you're tired, right? So I didn't drink coffee before we had our daughter. And so I still hate the taste of it. But when I come home on like a Saturday, I coffee up like so I can come home with the kind of she's super excited to see me and I'm super excited to see her. But if I come home and be like, sweet girl, I'm so excited to see you. Daddy's got to go take a nap. She'd be like, oh, he doesn't really seem that excited to see me. He just wants to go sleep. And so I have to coffee up. Well, it's like, okay, I got this last week off of TV, and the difference in energy that I have for my kids is like, whoa, this is really nice. so so yeah, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Last time I spoke to you, you said you'd never won a battle royal. You had the Royal Rumble, you had a good run in it, but you didn't win it. You still haven't won a battle royal. With, you know, whatever your decision is, are you going to hang around to try and win a battle royal at some point? I suppose technically a battle royal can have like 6 people in it as well.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if have you ever gone to those so WWE sometimes does shows at Butlins now, but have you ever gone to the Butlins wrestling shows that are put on by English promotions, and they usually just have like 3 matches and sometimes a battle royal?
Yeah, and the main event is a guy called Kane in it, spelled Cane or whatever.
Yeah. I was actually so I was on one of the shows where it was the CAIN Kane, and it was like 3 days after Kane had unmasked on WWE TV, but they had Brian Dixon already had like the outfit, so the guy just came out in the mask. It was really funny, but yeah, I might just have to get booked on some of those kind of Butland shows because they occasionally have battle royals, and and I'll tell the promoter I'm not coming in unless I win it.
Well, by hook or by crook, you've got to do it somehow, right?
I got to do it somehow. I can't go my entire career without winning a battle royal. That'd be absurd.
And just lastly, looking ahead at the Universal title picture, we mentioned SmackDown, the amazing roster, the fact Edge Roman might happen again, Roman v Cesaro, we all want to see, Big E versus Roman, we'd all want to see. What do you want to see next coming up in that Universal title scene?
So you know, it's let's see. I want to see Cesaro. I want to see Big E. I want to see Edge. So those are 3 right off the bat. I do want to see Rollins. Even though they've done it before, it feels like it would be unique. And you know the one that I actually really want to see too, that you know, I've thought about this one. Do you know what? There's so many people, gosh. But the one that I was gonna say that I really want to see is Ray, because I still think Ray is so good, and he, he can deliver such incredible performances, and people just really get behind him. But as I said, Ray, I was like, do you know what would be like I don't think anybody's clamoring for it right now, but I would love to see it, is Otis versus Roman. Like I would love, love to see it. Like, especially like Otis as a bad guy, Otis, who's not doing the worm, he's not doing any of that kind of stuff. He's just gonna go in there, and he's just such a hard guy to move around, right? And so I would love to see him and Otis. But I think I mean the two that I want to see most are Cesaro and Big E against Roman, and then obviously Edge and Ray from a Legends perspective, and Rollins from just like I think that would just be, they've done it before, but this would be a completely different circumstance. So those are the matches. If I could get a good Otis match in there. But that also means if we did an Otis match, that might mean that we would get a Chad Gable versus Roman match in the build-up, which I think would also be fantastic. So yeah.
And then after all of them, CAIN Kane versus Roman.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a long time, but it was actually done by a guy named Mike Hughes, and yeah, I'll get his number from somebody and bring him in.
All right, Daniel, it's been amazing talking to you. You're an absolute gent, and you did a great job in WrestleMania main event. Even if you're detached from it, even if you didn't think you should have been there, I think you were. I think you belong there.
well, I mean, despite being detached from it, and despite not thinking I should have been there, it was a lot of fun. And so yeah, it was, so I don't want to make it seem like, oh, he didn't even have fun. Of course I had fun. I love what I do. It was just a really bizarre feeling. So yeah.
Well, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.